So this is a momentous occasion. It's the final game review for the Mastertronic Chronicles, and it's only fitting that we go back to 1984 for a classic grid style release for this final review. This is a game created by the Darling brothers, who were responsible for much of the early success of Mastertronic, and this was the last game that I obtained for my collection. It is, of course, Pigs in Space. And I want to give a special thanks to John Christian Loningdal. I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. The Norwegian chap who I mentioned in my original video about the game, who passed this on to the lovely Dave and Anna from the Attic Bug, who gave this game to me to complete my collection at my wedding. So thank you once again to all of those people. And I just want to say that John's got his own website where he's looking for Commodore 64 games to complete his collection. So please do take a look at this web address and see if you can provide anything to John from his list. Once again, thank you, John. Now let's take a look at the game. Here's the front cover then. As mentioned, classic grid style Mastertronic packaging. Pretty nice cartoony artwork there of the pig fighting off the wolves that are descending on balloons from a spaceship, and a rather wacky Pigs in Space logo. And the spine has that same logo as well, with the grid style background. And the back cover has the loading instructions, as you'd expect from a grid style release. So inside we've got the instructions. Again, usual sort of layout for a grid style release. Save your piglets from the evil space wolves as they descend by balloons and helipacks from their hovering intergalactic spaceship. From your vantage point, a basket being lowered and raised by your piggy friends, you can zap the wolves with your pig laser. But be careful of the space dust the wolves throw at you. One touch and you fall to the ground. Shooting 20 wolves makes the way clear to leave the basket and rescue your piglet, avoiding the atomic mortar bombs dropping from the ship. Don't let the wolves land. So it got some features. Smooth moving high-res multicolour graphics. It's a bit of an exaggeration for a games creator game, I think. 100% machine code for super fast action. Sensational synthesized sound effects and catchy tunes. Multi-levels. And its joystick or keyboard controls. As you can see there, copyright Mastertronic 1984. So yeah, that's a very bold statement about the game for what is a classic games creator game from the Darling brothers, as you'll see soon enough. And if you hadn't worked out already, it's basically a clone of the Konami arcade game Puyan. So here's the now obligatory information screen that appears for any Darling brothers Mastertronic release. You can see their names mentioned there, and you've got the usual sort of information about the game, which is pretty much the same as what was in the instructions, and another page detailing the controls, and then the game starts loading properly. So if you've been watching my last 200 or so videos, then this screen should be more than familiar. It's a classic Darling brothers early Mastertronic release created with their games creator program. You can see the score lives and high score across the top of the screen. It's a single screen game, and as I mentioned, I'll get on with the game in a second, but as I mentioned, it is a clone of the Konami arcade game Puyan, which involves shooting wolves that descend down on balloons and try and kill you by moving up and down this rope on a basket. So let's get on with the game. It doesn't retain all the same attributes of the arcade game, but it is very similar. So basically you move up and down the right hand side of the screen in your little basket. You've got to shoot the wolves, if you can call them that, because they're not very obviously wolves. They're descending from the spaceship. Shoot them before they get to the bottom of the screen. If they get to the bottom of the screen, they'll walk across towards the bottom of the rope and then go up the rope and kill you, so you do need to stop them doing that. And this is where it varies slightly from the arcade game, because after you've shot 20 of them, you can come out of the basket at the bottom of the screen, and the idea is you've got to make your way across the screen and rescue the little pig in the corner there, and when you've done that you get a bonus, and it goes on to the next level, and it just repeats ad infinitum. So that is different from the arcade game and adds a little bit of a variety to the game, more variety than a lot of Darling brothers early games, so it's not too bad in that respect. Graphics are pretty similar to the arcade version as well, and by far not the worst of the Darling brothers early games. The music's pretty dreadful, which is in keeping with all of the early Darling brothers games. And that's pretty much it. It's just play for as long as you can and try and get as high a score as possible. And what's interesting is if you come out of the basket, you can go back in again by walking up to the side of the screen. Not much point doing that at the moment. But you can actually do that mid-game, and what I haven't tried yet is to try and get across the bottom of the screen and see what happens if there's still wolves coming down the screen. So that's level 2 completed. Level 3 is much more of the same. Doesn't really seem to increase the speed or the number of wolves coming down the screen. Just seems to be pretty much exactly the same. So what I'm going to try and do is shoot about 18 of them and then try and go across the bottom and see what happens if you try and go sooner. In fact, let's try it now. I'm probably not going to make it. No, I got hit by a meteor anyway. Yeah, you'd have to really barrel across the screen to be able to do it while there's lots of them coming down. You can just wait at the bottom of the screen, wait for them to get to the bottom and then shoot them. Oh, they got me. Just carry on playing it properly rather than trying to cheat the game. So what more can I say about it? Not a lot. It's a clone of Puyan. It's not as good as Puyan. I haven't played the official conversion of Puyan, so I can't compare it to that, but it's probably not as good as that. It's a pretty simplistic game anyway. But if I was a fan of Puyan back in the 80s, this is actually not that bad a sort of variation of it. And this bit of having to go across the bottom of the screen to rescue the pigs at least got some originality. There are some elements missing, as I said, in the original game, which, by the way, there is a video of me playing the arcade version of that on my YouTube channel if you go back a couple of years probably. The original game, you occasionally get a piece of ham that you can throw across the screen to try and kill the wolves with, that give you a kind of multiplier. That's missing. There's also a bonus stage using that piece of ham in the arcade version. That's missing as well. But as a clone of an arcade game goes, it's not actually that bad. That's game over. I'm not going to play through it again. So for the final Mastertronic game review of my series, I don't think it's too bad. It's pretty much slated on forums and places like Lemon64, but as a clone of Puyan, it's not very much removed from the original arcade game, offers a reasonable high score challenge, a little bit of variety with having to go across the bottom of the screen once you've shot 20 wolves. So I'm going to say yes, this last release was worth £1.99. So that's it, that's all the games reviewed in my collection. But it's not quite the end of the Mastertronic Chronicles, because what I'm going to do over the next few weeks is go back over the entire collection and review some of the best and worst games released by Mastertronic. Also take a look at some of the key developers of Mastertronic games, maybe even have a look at some of the multiplayer games, some of the rarest games, even some of the game music. So it may be the end of the reviews, but the Mastertronic Chronicles will go on for a few weeks longer, so do stay tuned.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
2, 1, 0.